thing.
Do you guys want to stay?
The little extra thing about
you
like,
want to
hey,
stay
you've
here?
Been here forever.
Hey, if you're going to stay here, be prepared. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. We are the Mile High Property Brothers. Getting into it, we're gonna be talking about the pros and cons of living in Denver and the surrounding area, but updated as far as 2023. So if you've seen this before, we haven't done it in about a year or two, but we're doing it again. Be prepared.
That's right, and Will is a native. He's been in Colorado his entire life. I've been here 20 years, so I am an honorary native. So
we let him stay.
That's right, so let me stay. So guys, we are going to be sharing all the pros and all the cons from two people that have been here a very, very, very long time, and on top of that, have helped a ton of people move to Colorado, so we hear these pros and cons from them as well.
Correct, sharing their opinion as well on this video, so hope this is helpful for you guys.
Now, just as a reminder, guys, we come out with a new video every Wednesday and every Sunday without fail. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single one.
Correct, and we have changed it. We used to be Tuesday, Thursday, but you guys tend to watch more Wednesday, Sunday. So we're giving you guys content predicated on where you guys watch it more. And as a reminder, we are licensed brokers, not just YouTube analytics specialists here in the state of Colorado. And just as much as we love making these videos, we would love more to help you with those real estate needs. So number that's popping up below, we are the guys trying to answer the phone calls, text messages, and those emails. So if we can help you, we would love to. But with that being said, pros and cons, let's dive into it specifically for what you guys are here for.
Now, starting off with number one, this is one that you guys are always so excited to learn as soon as we jump on a Zoom call and start having those conversations about you moving from where you're at to Colorado. And that is that our housing market is very, very reasonable. Now let's go over what reasonable means.
What Eli is getting at is just our overall housing market and where it's priced at. And yes, we are elevated compared to some other places in the United States. We typically compare it to is your Southern California market, right? So we are 30% more expensive than the rest of the country, but we are 30% less expensive than Southern California.
Specific to housing.
Specific to when it comes to housing. Boulder gets a little bit more pricey. Boulder tends to be very consistent with Southern California. The rest of the Denver metro area tends to be 30% less expensive.
Now, when we're looking at reasonable, we also are talking about competition. So one of the best things about the market right now, and this is specific to this updated 2023 version, is that guys, when we're out making offers on homes, gone are the days when you're needing to offer $50,000, $75,000, or $100,000 over asking price. Right now, looking at the Denver metro market as a whole, homes are closing at 99.5% of list price. That means that the majority of homes on average are selling for just under their asking price. So no longer are you having these massive, massive bidding wars.
No, not at all. And just as a reminder, right, there's ebb and flows to everything when it comes to real estate. So right now, your interest rates have paused, and then there's some word that they are going to decrease between third and fourth quarter. Now, as they decrease, you tend to get more kids in the camera.
That's right.
Or you tend to get more buyers that come through, which then increases demand for homes. But before more inventory pops out, the demand for homes is going to increase the price as far as the home. So we saw this a couple years ago where homes are going for $50,000, $75,000, $100,000, $125,000 over list price. But right now, we are not in that phase. Yes, you do kind of get in that phase depending on the ebb and flow of interest rates. But more importantly, even we had interest rates climb up super high and your buyers started to slow down, which was pretty much the first half of this year, homes were still 11% more expensive than they were the prior year when interest rates were at 2%. So what does that say? Colorado's overall housing market, Colorado's overall economy is still very healthy. So whether you guys are in a great opportunity right now where interest rates are a little bit higher, but you've got a lot of time and pick as far as the home that you guys want versus when the market gets pretty competitive, it's like you just got to get what you get. Hate to say it that way, but it's just, you have to act so quick. Sometimes you don't necessarily get enough time to go look at other homes, but the value of that home is still going to be there regardless of what market that you purchase in, which is awesome. So even though homes were going over asking price $100,000, they were still 11% more expensive the following year. And right now our market is still holding true, but yes, back long-winded here, back to Eli's point when it comes to where you guys are at, we have a healthy market in the sense of you've got some time. You've got some leverage as far as seeing the home that you want to see, making a proper decision, and not necessarily having to go over asking price.
Now, number two, this may or may not be a big surprise to you, but it is definitely something that you're going to see and feel when you come out here. That is the healthy lifestyle that Colorado lives by.
I'm Hans.
Yeah, I'm Franz, and we are here to pop you off.
Probably not this. This is probably more gyms and cornbread.
Right.
Either way, regardless of your interest, guys, people have a lot of fun staying active and living a healthy lifestyle here in Colorado. And it's not just outdoors and going for hikes or skiing. You see a lot of adults in pickleball leagues and flag football leagues and co-ed softball leagues. People just love getting out and being active, and we love that. I think it correlates to just overall just the temperament of Colorado and how kind people are here as well, but definitely active. And you will see all experience levels, whether it's snowboarding, skiing. Every time we go snowboarding or skiing, like for example, when I went, I'm not the best. You see how he laughs? He already knows where this is going. I was on the kiddie hill with the snowboard, but no problem because I was not the only dad on the little kid hill learning a couple things before we went up to the mountain. So, and I think that also just speaks to either whether it's people traveling here or just so many people that we've had move here from out of state that are wanting to get into like winter recreation. Don't feel like you're gonna be the only adult learning something for the first time. And because everybody's so kind out here, you're probably gonna have more fun falling down with other adults on the kiddie hill than you are gonna be being Tony Hawk on whatever big mountain this dude thinks he should snowboard.
It's true. And activity aside, nutritionally, you're also going to see that reflected here in Colorado between our restaurants and healthy fast food choices. And then, you know, even at your day-to-day like chains and stuff, you've always got healthy alternatives. You've got like vegetarian options, low carb options. Pretty much anywhere you go in terms of restaurants, you're going to see a lot options.
You got a lot of Trader Joe's. You've got a lot of Whole Foods out here. But what's really cool is, for example, King Soopers. That's like our Vons. I know in California, Kroger, Vons, just like that. King Soopers is our chain that's very popular as far as grocery stores out here. But there's even a lot of King Soopers that are like these organic fresh markets. So I think they call it fresh market King Soopers, where you're getting all of those organic options just in your traditional grocery store. So you don't have to go to a second one just to get what you're looking for. So really cool. And again, it just speaks to the overall healthy lifestyle in Colorado and how much the commercial industry is supporting that.
It's true. And my last point to this, you guys hear me talk about this all the time, or he'll poke fun at me for it, but that's our farmers market. So because there's such a good agricultural scene out here, you can go to a farmers market. All the major cities will have them every single weekend in the summertime and get all sorts of fresh, locally grown produce, fruits, vegetables, whatever that may be from local farmers. So just another cool aspect there.
I don't make fun of the farmers market. I just make fun of like Eli talks these things up like he's going to a rave or a football game. Like the first time he saw me at a farmers market, I literally thought we were going to a Sunday night football game. And I didn't necessarily know what a farmers market was. And when we get there wasn't even music playing.
That's how I feel when I go to a football game. Like there's no fresh cucumbers, no fresh tomatoes, nothing. Nothing. I don't know what to do over there.
Fresh lettuce is my all-time favorite food. What's your favorite food?
Well, I take Skittles and I put it between two Starbursts.
All right, next up, let's talk about neighborhood diversity. And specifically, we're talking more lifestyle types of homes, just the overall look and feel of what day-to-day life may be.
Proximity that you guys have when it comes to being in the central, like most central location of downtown Denver. And then if you guys were to take like a 35-minute radius around Denver, just the different types of home and types of living that you guys can have all within 30 minutes of Denver.
Yeah, and then if you go outside of that, you've got mountain living, right? Big homes on acreage out in the mountains. You've got condo ski resort type of living or second homes up there if you want to do a timeshare or split share or something that you've got like up in Keystone, Breckenridge, Winter Park, those types of places, to urban downtown living, to urban suburban living like in South Park Hill or the Highlands like we mentioned, all the way out to traditional suburbia and out where I live in Elizabeth, where you've got acreage.
Eli doesn't like anybody. Eli has his own hot springs on his property and acres. And like the other day, he was like mowing his lawn. It was like up to his shoulder. Like he's out where no one's gonna find him. But you can have that here in Colorado. Got farm life that's out here in Colorado, and you also kind of have a hybrid. What I mean as far as like you don't necessarily want to have a farm or be out in the middle of nowhere, but maybe you want an acre or 2 or 3 acres, but you still want to be within 20 to 30 minutes of like grocery stores and everything else. Like you also have that out here in Colorado as well. So a lot of good options. Franktown has been great for that as far as like having different options for, hey, I've got a couple of acres, but we've got a farm that's local to the neighborhood that services the neighborhood when it comes to like food, as far as like egg and milk and other poultry. But then again, you're still 15, 17 minutes from Parker, so you can do all of your shopping. Elizabeth is another great option, but just really cool as far as like all of that, because if we go all the way out to Elizabeth, where Eli lives, you're still within an hour of downtown.
Yeah, it's with no traffic, Denver. It's 45.
So when we talk about how unincorporated Denver is and how much more room there is to grow on the eastern half of the entire state. It's still true to this day, guys. Like, it's like you go to California, Chicago, like to get an hour out of the city, you still haven't traveled that far. You go an hour out of Denver, you'll be past Bennett, which is extremely far, right? So a lot of just really cool options out here.
Now we've got one more pro for you before we dive into the cons, and I know this is one that we always see as a big plus for a lot of people that are coming here, and that is our lower taxes. Now, Colorado does have a state income tax, but where you're really going to save is with your property taxes. Now, if you're in an established neighborhood that's been around for a while, chances are your taxes are going to be around 0.5% to maybe 0.6% on the purchase price of your home. Now, if you're in a new build community, let's say you're in a new build development down in Castle Rock, let's say, or the Canyons that we just did a video on in Castle Pines, their property tax is going to be around 1.1 to 1.2. So on the high end, that still is a lot cheaper than a lot of places where you guys are coming from. We just closed with some clients last week. They are in Castle Rock, and their property taxes are literally less than half of what they were paying in Wisconsin. They were paying 2% in Wisconsin.
Now you guys know why Aaron Rodgers left.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if New York is better when it comes to state taxes. Probably not, so that's just a little jab at the Green Bay Packers. We love you guys, super support your rebuild phase. There's going to be a lot of losses in your guys' future, so hey, we appreciate you. Hopefully we have some wins on the Denver side. We did not have a good year last year.
Kidding.
Talking football.
There we go. That's what
Eli's
it
not a
is.
big football guy.
You know Aaron Rodgers.
Jiu-jitsu guy. But either way, all jokes aside, just something to definitely benefit from. And what you will see out here, even in some of these new build communities, is a decrease in taxes at times. So a lot of you know that I lived in Castle Rock up in Diamond Ridge before we came back out to Southeast Aurora once we were pregnant with our newborn, just to get closer to family. But when we were out there, the taxes had actually gone down from the year prior to the year we were purchasing out there, which was awesome. And it just speaks to having temporarily higher taxes when it's unincorporated. You're building schools, you're building roadways, all of that has to contribute to the new development in the area. But then as it gets developed, taxes at times have gone down. So it's not something that's going to stick forever or always increase forever. So although it's overall low, it could end up being lower for you guys as well.
Now, the things you've all been waiting for.
Boy.
Let's go down the con list, okay? All right, now number one, this may be the most obvious to you, but that's gonna be cost of living, okay?
Right.
So to recap what Will said earlier, when he mentioned we're 30% higher than national average, that is for homes specifically. If we're looking at all expenses, cost of living across the board, we're about 15% higher than the national average.
Which isn't bad for everything that you guys get here when it comes to overall living. So whether it's Sloan's Lake, Southeast Aurora, Castle Rock, Castle Pines, just up in Fort Collins, like you guys have so many places to live out here bang for buck wise. But then you've got the Rocky Mountain National Park, you've got Colorado Springs, you've got Telluride,
Yeah.
you've got the sand dunes, which is the smallest desert on the planet, but it's big enough
Is
to be
it
a
really?
desert.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's cool.
Sand dunes that you've got,
Yep.
a lot of the shopping. So just bang for buck, everything that you guys can do here in Colorado and experiencing all 4 seasons. Sometimes that can be a pain, but more times than not, like it's a plus because of just a different weather that you guys are gonna involve yourself with. And I tell you what, Aspen or anywhere in Colorado in the fall time is so hard to beat as far as
yeah.
like leaves changing and the temperature of everything. It's amazing, yet you're only 15% higher when it comes to across the board everywhere else per live. And then yes, housing costs cost a little bit more, but a good barometer that we like to use is we're 30% on housing more expensive than the national average, but we're 30% less expensive from California. So that should show you some separation of yes, we're a little bit higher, but not necessarily as far off or as high as you might think. And what you're getting for that cost is amazing.
Yeah, and let's throw a little comparison in here. If you're coming from a state that has significantly lower cost of living, I can almost promise you that the job that is bringing you to Denver will have a substantial raise in conjunction with that higher cost of living. And then on the flip side, if you're coming from a bigger market with more expensive housing, you're gonna be saving a ton, not only in property taxes, but also housing costs as well.
And with Eli guaranteeing that, if for some reason they're not doing that, I'm guessing Eli's going
Send
to
me an
provide
email.
that gap of income for you to make sure that you're still here at the proper
Or help you
price.
find another job, either one.
Hey, Mile High Property Brother,
That's
hey,
right.
are you guys in there? My man.
That's right, that's right.
I'm saying Pam. Yeah, I'm sorry. Who's this gentleman sitting behind you?
Hello, Miss Lady.
All right, now next up is the altitude. Okay, now Denver itself is 5,280 feet higher than sea level, mile high city, as they call it. And then if you go anywhere into the mountains, you're gonna be significantly higher than that. And if altitude is a potential issue for you, that could be a con.
And it might be for medical reasons, guys. It all just depends on, obviously, what you have going on personally. But it's not so just much like, hey, whether you guys can breathe or not. Of course you guys can breathe. Does it take some acclimation for the first couple months to get used to it? Yep. For the majority of people, what I've noticed when I've come back to Colorado, or what other people have noticed, is like when you're working out or you're going for a jog or a bike ride, you definitely feel a little bit more winded than usual. But and this is the obvious, right? I'm telling you guys things. I don't want to insult your intelligence. A lot of you are like, yeah, Will, I get it. What I really want to get at is just your hydration levels, right? So when it comes to being this high and not as acclimated, and when it's hot, you're also just closer to the sun because of that, which means you're going to be potentially sweating more. Your body's just also under more stress because of your proximity to the heat, which means hydration is going to be huge for you. And this is the one that everybody doesn't think about. Your hydration in the cold, okay? So when you guys are out skiing and you got your snowsuit on and all that good stuff and it's freezing outside, but you're skiing or you're outside and you're shoveling because we've got a big snowstorm that came through and you're all bundled up, so you're good and warm and you're sweating or whatever it may be, but you could be extremely dehydrated. Or believe it or not, even if you're not warm and sweaty in your clothes, when you're outside and you're skiing or whatever you're doing, like, we just don't think to drink as much water as we should, especially in inclement weather. And that was something that was big in the Marine Corps. I don't think we're thirsty for it when we're cold. We're trying to get warm, but your water intake goes down significantly. So when you mix that with altitude, it's just something to think about and be aware of. So water intake is going to be huge for you, and then just making sure that you are protecting yourself with sunscreen. So whether it's in the heat, in the sun, even if it's only 85 degrees, you're closer to the sun. It's got a little bit more bite to the sun kiss out here versus like California or lower elevations. And then in the snow, especially if it's sunny, the reflection off of the snow that hits your face or your arms, your hands can actually be a worse burn than you get in the summer. And I hear that it's just not good. So something to think about when it comes to what entails on a day-to-day basis with being at altitude.
So fun fact with that, I was actually talking to one of our clients and he goes, hey, we always hear people say we're a mile closer to the sun, blah, 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 blah. And he was some like meteorologist, with all due respect, nerd, like just nerdy about that meteorology
in a positive
stuff.
way, 100%.
But what he said was, he goes, hey, we're like 90 million miles away from the sun or some ridiculous number. He goes, an extra 5,000 feet doesn't make that big of a difference. He goes, but what does make the difference is how thin the air gets at altitude. He goes, that gets significantly different. So even at Denver, you have thinner air, which assuming allows more UV rays through.
100%.
And he goes, and then when you go up to an extra 5,000 or 6,000 or 8,000 feet on top of that in the mountains, it's super thin up there. He goes, so it's really the UV rays getting you versus the distance to the sun. But I
look, dude, knowledge. Like, I don't know why. He's a scientist. All I do know is that you get a little bit more bite on the sun out here, whether it's winter or summer. So something to just be cognizant of.
All right, now next up, guys, let's talk air quality. Okay, now you guys may be watching this being like, what? Denver? You're in the mountains? That's crisp, clean air all the time, right? For the most part, yes, you do have crisp, clean air up here. However, during the summertime, there can be so many wildfires from, usually we'll have a moderate amount of forest fires depending on our rain and stuff in Colorado.
Very few.
But then California, Wyoming, New Mexico, Canada now.
They all blow up, and for whatever reason, the way the
here.
jet stream works, as far as like how wind directions work, and us being at altitude and above everybody, everything tends to like, they say like crap rolls downhill. That's the saying, right? Smoke rolls uphill, and wherever Denver is.
Yeah.
So you guys will see some smoke for a couple of weeks here and there through the spring and through the summer. So it cuts down on like your visibility. Sometimes you guys will get those news flashes where they say, hey, air quality is lower today, so spend less time outside if possible. Things like that. Not sure how familiar you are if you're in a state that already kind of deals with that, but it's something that you definitely want to think of. It's not a marijuana cloud over the mountains. It's somebody else on fire that's true. Smoking up our clarity here.
That's true. Now, if allergies are a big issue for you, we always, every single year, have a big pine blossom, I guess is what you would call it, to where all the pine trees out here, which we have a ton of them in Colorado, will leave this super fine yellow layer of pollen all over everything for a couple weeks out of the springtime.
Especially if you guys are in the mountains. If you're out in like Denver metro area, you're not going to see a ton of it. If you're up in Boulder or the mountains, if you live up there, or Evergreen, you're going to see a lot of it. You might see like a small amount, like just covering your entire car. It'll blow off with the wind, but you'll see it. Definitely makes you sneeze. I do think that some of the high winds that we we get throughout the spring, along with just the season change and different plants, and it being so dry, like I think it just messes with allergies overall. I think as you get acclimated, it tends to get better. I remember when I first came back to Colorado from being in California for so long in the Marine Corps, it almost felt like my allergies had to reacclimate, because I come back here, I get right into police work, and I remember for whatever, I think it was spring, working into the summer, and then it was fall going into the winter, it seemed like, where my eyes would water and I'd sneeze a lot and things like that. But over the years, after being here for a while, I tended to just acclimate. Not sure if that's specific for you, but it's definitely something that's noticeable if you are sensitive to allergies.
Take your Claritin, bring your Visine with you, good to go.
Observe dry eyes, red eyes, symptoms for which science created clear eyes.
Moving right along down the list of cons. Long winters. Okay, now our winters aren't always bad, but they do last a while.
We have more sunny days than anywhere in the country, right? So I want to make that clear. No, it's science. they measure it, but the snow is here, right? Like it does feel like the winter's gonna be a little bit long. We actually had like a really early winter this year.
We do,
and it tended to like fade out. It's almost like we had a normal winter this year.
Right?
It started on time and it finished on time, but it does feel like it lasts a little bit longer. And what Eli means by that is like technically we'll be into like early spring, March, April, even sometimes May, and we'll have like 2 or 3 snowstorms in May. And what makes them so hard to deal with is because all the moisture's coming, all the rain is coming, but the sun is also showing itself and it's starting to warm up. You get this really heavy, wet snow that can literally break the branches right off of your trees. So you have to be really aware of like the types of trees that you have in your front yard and backyard, and just making sure that you're, you know, shaking those things off the best that you can and just minimize the weight that's on the trees. Shoveling your driveway is a little harder when it's that heavy. You're gonna break a couple snow
Get a
snowballs.
snowblower.
I broke down this year and got a snow. I used to use the shoveling for a workout, but I broke my favorite shovel. I can't own another shovel. It just feels like it's not even right with how much I love this one.
Snowblow it.
So I got a snowblower, and that works really well, but it does kind of go into like early spring. But the trade-off is your winters, even if we have a big snowstorm, the sun will be out within a day or two and it melts, and we've got great infrastructure here where like everything, like your plows, your city infrastructure, take care of it. So it's like, it lasts a little bit longer, but it's more mild per some of these other places that you might live that actually have a full 4 seasons to it.
Yeah. Now this year it was a little more extreme in the sense of, not that roads were covered in snow all the time, but it just stuck around a little bit longer because it was colder. And they said that this was the coldest winter that we had in 10 years. So if you've been renting in Colorado or something, you already moved, no, we're not lying to you. It's normally not like that. Colorado winters are typically mild, but they do last a little while.
Even this winter, even though we had like a lot of snowstorms early on, where it felt like a full winter, there were still sunny days, there were still clouds coming out. It wasn't like you couldn't mitigate or navigate through the winter. So compared to like Michigan or Chicago, like even our heavy winters are not heavy compared to those places. A lot of places the snow comes and it just stays all year.
Now our next con, now for a lot of you guys, you're not gonna care about this at all. It might not even be a con to you, and it might just be like, duh, guys. But it is something that we hear from people, and it is one of the reasons that we see people sometimes move out of Colorado, but that's that we're landlocked. There's no major bodies of water outside of just some of our lakes and reservoirs and stuff that we have out here. And sometimes people get into a phase of life where they want to be around some water and they want some more outdoor activities that involve that, and Colorado doesn't really offer much.
No, not necessarily. Like you've got Big Bear Lake, you've got some great reservoirs, but like you say, you don't have, like we're landlocked per se. And we're also just not a real heavy retirement state. So you guys are gonna see a lot of people, we'll probably talk about this a bit more when it comes to, you know, overall population in Colorado and why there's still so much room to grow. Even though so many people are coming here, we've got some folks that are leaving, and it's not necessarily a popular state when it comes to retirement, right? The weather, you got cold weather here, you're at altitude, and you don't necessarily have the ocean, right? So definitely not ideal, but for that, it's almost like it creates other opportunities for you guys to be here and create what you would like lifestyle-wise.
And it gives us no humidity, it gives us 4 seasons, and you know, if you do want a boat or a jet ski, there's plenty of places where you can go fish, you can go jet ski, you can go do that, but...
White river water rafting, you gotta say that appropriately.
White water rafting,
White river water.
No, it's whitewater rafting. River water. Whitewater rafting.
It's a river, right? The Colorado River?
Yeah.
So I'm not wrong.
No, you're not.
Have you ever been? Yeah, I mean, as well. By the way, listen, it's a lot of fun. You know what else is a lot of fun? Working with us and me reminding you that we are licensed brokers here in the state of Colorado.
Yes.
And yes, just as much as we love making these videos, we would love more to help you guys with those real estate needs. So that number that's popping up below, we are the guys who answer the phone calls, text messages, and those emails. So if we can help you, we would love to. In the meantime, I'm going to be finding out the terminology of whether river is in that name or not. Either way, it's really fun to say. But while we're doing that, you guys have a good time with this content. Enjoy the rest of your week. Call us with anything that you guys might need.
That's right.
We'll see you guys in the next video.
And just so you like can have the last word. If you're still watching to this point, you're probably a diehard loyal fan, or you live here and this is really interesting. If you live here or you've lived here before, comment below your top pro and your top con, and we'll see what kind of conversations we can get going.
Keep it appropriate, keep it clean. Thanks, guys.
See you guys. And then, okay, a couple more here. All right. Silent.
Con.